like y'all are all still here. Is that right? Anybody missing? Anybody go away expecting we wouldn't start? Okay. We're still waiting on, who are we waiting on from the staff side? Okay. He's got it? Okay, great, thank you, hi. All right, Ms. Weller, if you'll just tell me when we're ready. Okay, great, thank you. Well, we're gonna get started then, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Johnson. Just had a little wait. Thank you all for your patience in waiting. Thought we had that all lined up. We have an agenda before us with a number of things, and we've been notified that we need to add something to the agenda. The advanced polling locations for the special election for House District 45. Would somebody make a motion, and we'll talk about it in due time if we accept that?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we add as number 3, so we'll call for the election and then the locations, the advanced voting polling location and hours for House District 45.
Okay.
I second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor to add this to the agenda, please say aye.
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 Opposed? There are none. The motion to add to the agenda passes, and we'll renumber the call for the TSPLOST to number 4 and the voter residency challenge to number 5. All right, the call for the special election. Somebody just want to introduce that, or should I read it?
Wait a minute. Do we have to approve the agenda?
Oh, yep, sorry. Please make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve agenda?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none, and the agenda is approved. Thank you so much for that. We'll move on to the call for the special election. Ms. Williams, do you want to just tell us what this is? Or Mr. Eskridge, whoever.
Excuse me. Call for a special election. Notice is hereby given that in accordance with OCGA, section 21-2-540, special election shall be held in Fulton County to fill a vacancy in Georgia House District 45. Special election will be held on April 5th, 2022. All persons who are not registered to vote and who desire to register to vote in the special election may register to vote through the close of business on March 7th, 2022. Early voting will be held March 14th to April 1st, 2022. Polls will open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. on election day. Should a runoff election be required, such runoff will be held on May 3rd, 2022.
Anybody have any questions or anything? Can I have a motion to approve the call for the special election in House District 45?
I'll make a motion to approve. Just question, do we need to change this the 18th, February 22nd? Do we need to change that on the paper?
On the call, it says the 18th.
On the call, it says the 18th of February. Do we need to change that date?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, today is the 22nd?
Yeah. Make a motion to change the date to the 22nd of February, please.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. The motion to change just the call itself to reflect today's date is done. Without objection, go ahead.
Make a motion to call for the special election.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor of the call for the special election in House District 45, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. We have approved the call for the special election, and now, with the new piece of the agenda, we will consider an additional advance voting location. Mr. Eskridge, you don't just want to read the detail? Or Ms. Williams?
Regarding advanced voting, we are proposing to have the advanced voting location at Sandy Springs Library. It would be held between March 14th to April 1st. Would include both mandatory Saturdays of March 19th and March 26th. And we are waiting for directives in regards to an absentee drop box from the SOS.
Okay, so we are not including March 20th and 27th as Sundays.
No, we are not going to include this optional Sundays.
Okay, so do we need to correct that on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if somebody would make a motion to just correct that notation?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve advanced polling location and hours for House District 45 to include Monday through Friday, March 14th through April 1st, as well as Saturdays, March 19th and March 26th.
Okay,
Seconded.
properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. The motion carries. We'll now move to the call for the TSPLOST. Somebody wants to tell us about that? You want me to take a stab at it?
I'm sorry?
You want me to take a stab at
Oh,
it?
no, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You said
Oh, boy. Let's see.
The hot potato.
There's just, the reason I'm just stumbling through this is that there are many pages of City of Atlanta legislation, but this is a motion to allow voters in the City of Atlanta to add an additional 0.4% transportation special purpose local option sales and use tax for a period not to exceed 5 years. This was brought to us as a result of, actually, they're also including some bond elections that go with this. But there's a resolution, if you want to look up the detail, you can look up a City Council Resolution 21-R-3927. And that will give you the detail of the project list and other kinds of things, if that's of interest to you. So if I could have are there any questions? This would be for, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, this is for City of Atlanta residents who cast the vote on this particular question on the 24th of May. All right, any motion for this?
Motion to accept the notice of sales tax and use tax election
For the TSPLOST?
for the TSPLOST.
Okay,
Second.
properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? There are none. The call for the TSPLOST has passed. And now we'll move to the voter challenges. Shall we? Mr. Thomas, I have not seen, I can't see your last name through Mr. Eskridge, and we've not had the
It's
pleasure.
Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry.
Thank you. So nice to meet you. TJ, yes. Would you please take us through to the challenge details?
Yes, ma'am. On February 10th, 2022, Mr. Richard Thompson submitted us a Regency challenge, which was a total of 498 voters. During our research, we found that 343 voters were in inactive status, and they are registered in other states. 54 voters are in active status.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is not matching the numbers that we have. Are you sure we're looking at the same
Oh.
thing?
You got it.
Oh, I see,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Nope, it's me. I apologize. I'm looking at the short version, not the long version. Please go ahead.
Okay, all right, thank you. And
Yeah.
we had 101 voters that was in council status already. So Mr. Thompson got all his research off the Secretary of State's websites for the following: Alabama, Colorado, Louisiana, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Washington. We also give 2 examples of what he pulled from the Secretary of State. In our findings, we provide to match the records from the Secretary of State with the evidence that Mr. Thompson provided. And by these findings brought forth by Mr. Thompson, we recommend that removing these 397 voters from the voter rolls.
Okay, questions?
So we have verified that all of these voters are no longer residing in Georgia.
Yes, ma'am.
A question was sent to me earlier about how the National Voting Rights Act sort of interfaces with the state voter challenges. And I was going to ask Ms. Ringer, do we have any conflict with that relative to these voters that we're moving, to the best of your knowledge?
To the extent that we are seeking to remove voters because there has been a change in address, there is a conflict. The NVRA states that, sorry, let me pull it up. A state is prohibited from removing the name of a registrant from the official list of eligible voters in elections for federal office on the grounds that the registrant has changed residence unless the registrant confirms in writing that he or she has moved outside the registrar's jurisdiction. 2, fails to respond to a notice as outlined under subsection D2, and 3, has not voted or appeared to vote in 2 federal election cycles following receipt of the notice. So in this instance, the county would have had to forward, we would have forward notice to the electors that are being challenged about the challenge hearing today. However, we're not able to remove them from the rolls until 2 federal election cycles have followed their receipt of the notice. So we would have them in a limbo status, kind of equivalent to inactive. And then I have spoken to staff about the action that we've taken on prior election challenges, and we'll have to come back before the board to let you know how we're going to work with changing the status of those individuals, because the federal law does trump the state law.
So let me restate so that people hear what we're trying to explore and figure out. We received a call from someone who said that this issue, the Federal National Voting Rights Act trumps state law in certain instances. What I have been told is that if people voted in 2018 or 2020, years of the last 2 federal elections, and they don't tell us to proactively remove them from the list, then we can't remove them from the list. If they haven't voted, if they haven't voted during those elections, then we can, right? If their last election was 2016 or something like that, is that correct?
No, they have to be given the opportunity to vote in 2 federal election cycles after they would have received notice of the attempt to remove them from the rolls. So
Okay.
we have to let them kind of be in abeyance for the next 2 federal election cycles.
Okay. Yes, sir. Sure. And would you please tell us who you are?
Good afternoon, everyone. Rich Thompson, Fulton County resident. I just want to make sure, just for clarification's sake, in the information that I submitted of those 498 names, there was a supporting documentation to which some of that included the actual certificate or copy of the registration of the individuals in the other 7 states. So given the fact that they are no longer here and there's documented proof that they are registered to vote in other states, there's clearly a conflict that they don't need to be on our rolls. So I just want to make sure that that is being considered by the board so that we can not prolong this action.
Right, we're just trying to make sure we're drawing the line as straight as we can. Thank you for that. And appreciate you working through this. Like I said, we have several different things going on in state law and federal law that make these things very complicated.
Hi, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, ma'am.
Could either yourself or TJ, could you tell us how many of the electors had the certification? Do you recall?
The vast majority of them, I can't tell you a specific number.
Okay.
I mean, I think all.
Is that
if I'm
in
not
the
mistaken.
information that we have in front of us?
TJ, you have that information?
Only thing I have are our inactive voters and our active voters in front of me right now, the information provided.
So as a part of the attachment, there was a Dropbox file that had attachments for each the rationale for each name to be removed. So there's a PDF attachment by name for that person's registration of proof that they're no longer a resident of Fulton County.
Yes, sir, I have that in front of me as we speak.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, to confirm, what is that actual proof
A copy of their actual registration in another state.
in another state? Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Johnson has a question.
Okay. Yeah, no, I got one for both. So Cheryl, I'm sorry, Ms. Ringer, you said there were 3 things. You said, after notice, they have to have an opportunity to send something in writing.
The
And then the
electric,
third one, you said 2 federal elections, and I'm sorry I missed the second one.
okay, so, so it's based on whether or not residence has changed, so they can confirm in writing that they have moved outside of our jurisdiction. They failed to respond to a notice, the notice that we sent them about the challenge hearing, and they have not voted or appeared to vote in 2 federal election cycles following receipt of the notice.
So it's all 3, it's not or, it's and.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I would think it's actually one, yeah, the first one is or, it's, they confirm in writing, or they fail to respond to our notice, and they have not voted in the next 2 federal elections.
Oh, okay, so 1 and 2 are conjoined, and then number 3.
2 and 3 are conjoined.
Okay, 2 and 3.
One is by self.
Okay, so I think this is another prime example of what you were talking about earlier, and to your point and both of you all, is that the conflicts in the law. I don't know if you recall at our last meeting, we talked about there were certain things, the way the state law was written, that don't quite jive with how the federal law is written. And I don't know if that was, I don't know how they got to that point, that there are conflicts. But this seems to be another example, because before now, we thought all we had to do was send these people notification. I think you've sat through a couple of these meetings, and I thought we followed the law as consistently as possible until this issue comes up, and then we find out that there's something different. So I just wanted to make note that even though you may have done all your due diligence, and we appreciate that, that these conflicts are starting to pop up as every other week. So as the chair mentioned before, if we can let our state legislators know to iron these things out and the problems that it's causing, I think would be tremendous. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Johnson, well, I note, duly noted on your recognition of the conflicts. But I think a more pressing conflict is we're at that window where now we will almost be prohibited at some point from taking people off the rolls that shouldn't be on the rolls if we don't take action. So my request is that we proceed with making sure that these people are not positioned to participate in the upcoming elections. And it scares me to think that I have to wait 2 federal cycles, before they can be removed, because that creates even more conflict down the road when we have more people on the rolls than we actually have that are actually voting.
Did you have a response?
And I'm not in total disagreement with you, but at the same time, this could be an exercise in futility in the sense that we take all these people off the roll, then they find out next week we got to add them back anyway because they didn't go through the proper protocols in order to have them removed from the roll. So I think that in our due diligence, now I got to tell you that I'm a fan of making sure that people, that we're sure and we're doing, I honestly believe unless you move, you got certain circumstances, you're registered to vote, you live there forever. I do understand that people pass away, I understand people leave, I understand things happen to where people need to be removed from the voter rolls to clean it up. But at the same time, I want to make sure that we do everything that we are legally required to do to make sure that when we take them off the roll, that we're doing the right thing and they're supposed to be off. So not just that they're supposed to be off, but we're doing the right thing and following the law as well. So, yes.
Well, Ms. Crawford, did you have something? No. Okay. Yeah, so this is an unfolding drama, and you're right, we are coming up on deadlines. I just want to say a couple things, just for the try to be as clear as possible for people who are not down here and watching us on TV. So we have 3 sets of laws governing this. Originally, the removal of voters kind of fell into the purview of the Secretary of State's office. 2 years ago, the General Assembly decided to approve legislation that would allow citizens like yourself to undertake to remove voters. And so we're going through our first experience with this year, as y'all are coming down and we're all working together to try to figure out how to do this effectively. And appreciate you working with us on our schedules that we have. It has since come to our attention that we have this conflict with the National Voting Rights Act that supersedes the 2 state laws in a fairly complicated manner. And that's what we're discussing today, because we just received notification of that extra issue. We were cognizant that tomorrow, February 23rd, this is essentially the last day for voter challenges until the end of the primary, and or if we have a federal primary runoff, we can't do any voter challenges until either the primary or the primary runoff is over. And then we'll go through the summer where there will be a period where we can have this discussion, which then ends on August 10th. Mr. Baker had asked me about that, and I researched that. And so August 10th, I don't know if that's the last day or the first day that we can't, but that's about where we are, and we'll clarify that. So, Ms. Ringer, let's talk about what might we act on relative to Mr. Thompson's piece that we're considering today.
Yes, ma'am. So to the extent that we have independent information, absent the change of address, but there's proof that the electors have registered to vote in another jurisdiction, I believe you can act on those, because the NVRA, the National Voter Registration Act, specifically talks about removing electors because of a change in residence.
And that would be the only circumstance.
That we have, that I'm aware of, unless you all can let me know if there are other instances where there is some additional proof of the elector that shouldn't be on our rolls.
Well, the substantiating evidence that we have is that these 498 people are registered in other states.
Right.
All
So
right,
you said vast majority. I don't know how many of the vast majority of the
Well,
498.
all.
Okay. And if we can confirm that, then I think we can move.
All 300?
498, correct?
Correct.
No, 397.
So
Well-
let's take that from the top. So we've got 397 voters challenged. That comport with your number?
I submitted 498. I think there was a note that there was some that may have already come off. 101 that were in council status.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
a lot of microphones on, I think.
Would you turn your microphone?
498 you submitted.
Correct.
101 you found out already were being canceled, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that is how we got down to the 390.
397, okay. all right.
Yeah.
So 101 were already in canceled status. So we're not considering those today. 54 have a status of active because these 54 are registered to vote in other states, as evidenced by the proof that you've submitted that they're registered in other states. Is that
Correct.
what we're saying? Is that
Yes,
right?
ma'am. That's correct.
Can those be removed? So we don't have to hear back from them proactively.
Correct, because the rationale for removing them is not just that they have moved, it's that they have actually registered to vote in another state.
Okay. So we can move those 54. And then as regards the remaining 343, the status is they have a status of inactive, NCOA active return mail, or an active cross state. It says the board can remove these. This was before we got this information, so just let me read what we're looking at. These 343 are registered to vote in other states, but we don't have the proof that they were registered in other states. Is that what we're saying?
No, they're all part of the same data file.
What's the distinguishing characteristic between the 343 and the 54?
The active versus the inactive voters.
Oh, okay. But we have proof on 343?
That's my understanding, and that is what Mr. Thompson is saying. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And we don't have to have that corresponding confirmation from those people?
Correct.
Okay, so we can proceed then with the 343 removed and the 54 removed. Everybody good? Feeling good about that? Mr. Thompson, you clear about the action that we're going to take relative to this?
I've done my math, and I think I'm clear on the math. I only have one final question.
Sure.
What would be the process to ensure that there is, for lack of a better word, proof that they were removed and they won't be there come election time? How could we confirm that those actions have been taken?
I'll let somebody else answer that question.
Shouldn't he be able to pull the same voter roll that they pulled to put this together?
Yes, sir, he should be able to do
I was
that.
about to say, I believe you already have access.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
However, you got these names are the same way, that the same system.
Well, obviously, but once again, that is me doing my work as a citizen to make sure it's right. I'm asking, what confirmation do I have that my official government has removed them and done the actions?
And
Yeah,
I'm-
you'll
and
just
I'm
have to go back and
suggesting
look.
that the database that you did your due diligence on to create this list will be the same database that will tell you that they are now no longer registered to vote.
Okay. Let me approach my question a different way. Is it a matter of public record, the amount of people who are removed? Is it duly noted that these people are removed, or do I just go and search for them and I no longer can find them?
Not sure what you're asking, but the notes from this meeting would contain the names and the list of what gets removed and who gets removed and the circumstances under which they get, you've seen the spreadsheet.
Thank you.
And then you'd be able to go back and look at the voter rolls once we've taken this action and verify that yourself.
Okay.
Is that right? Please contradict me if I'm giving out incorrect information. Okay.
No, you're correct.
Let me have a motion then on what we shall do as our next steps, unless anybody from the staff has something we should consider. Okay. Ms. Crawford, you want to make a
Motion to, Madam Chair, motion to delete, take the recommendations of the registrar on the challenged voters, 397 electors being challenged, to remove them from the voter rolls.
Okay. The 343 inactive voters and the 54 voters that have the status of active is what we'll do, Mr. Johnson.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? There are none. We will remove those voters. Thank you. Thanks for your patience with us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And on behalf of Fulton County voters, I really do appreciate y'all, one, convening this special meeting and being so judicious and working through all the details.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your patience. Okay. Was that it? We have another one?
Yes, we have one more.
Okay.
Jason Frazier submitted a Residency challenge on February 16th. There was a total of 43 names submitted. 6 of those voters on there were inactive. He also provided the obituaries for the 6 voters. 25 voters have had active status, and 9 of those voters status of counsel/deceased. And the 3 that was last left on, we could not provide any proof, so we would like for those to be removed from the challenge also.
All right. I have a question, but I'll wait and see if anybody else has a question. I just want to make sure we don't have duplications. We've got 6 have a status of inactive. There were obituaries provided for each of those 6. 25 have a status of active, but we can remove for other reasons. 9 have a status of canceled deceased. So it just happens that there are 9 that are deceased plus 6 that are deceased. 9 that you had prior notification that they were deceased in the records. And, well, that's what I'm asking. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am, I do. So that was actually a mistake. So there was 6 voters inactive with no contact not being reached from those 9 that has been counted due to the deceased.
So we have 25 that have a status of active that we want to remove because we've,
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
there's an accurate matchup with everything.
Yes, ma'am.
We have 3 that we're not going to remove because we don't have the proof that we need to make that removal.
Correct.
And we need to resolve somehow the 6 and the 9.
No, the 9 is already in canceled status. See?
Yeah, but see, they're deceased. And these are deceased. So let me ask you this. Can you quickly,
Yes,
Tell
those
me-
6 are still in active status due to the fact that we just received their obituaries, so they will be updated. And those 9 have already been pronounced canceled and deceased.
oh, so that's what adds to the 31,
Right.
25, but there's no duplication between the 6 and the 9?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Okay, just to make sure everybody understands where we are with that, we'll remove 31 people from this challenge, 6 who are, we've received from the challenger additional notification that they are deceased, 25 that we're moving from for other reasons, and then 9 were already indicated as deceased in the records, and 3, we don't have the proof that's appropriate to allow us to take this action.
Correct.
Mr. Johnson, did you have a question or anything? Okay, ready to go. Do we have a motion?
Motion to remove the 31 electors being challenged.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. These voters will be removed. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Frazier, you look like you have questions. Okay.
Okay? Please put the mic on. Thank you. And would you just identify yourself for the record?
Yes, my name is Jason Frazier. I'm the one that submitted these folks. So it sounds like 31 people will be removed, and there wasn't enough evidence on the other ones, or on 3 of the other ones, possibly?
That's correct.
Will I be told what evidence was missing, so that way I can go back and produce that?
Sure. If
Maybe in the future?
we don't have that available right at this, if you have it now, you can say it. If not, why don't y'all just communicate with each other
Yeah.
about that?
No, I don't have it available right now, but I'll make sure I'll be able to get it to them for them.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great if there could be some communication, so that way I know ahead of time, maybe something got deleted, some sort of communication, because I'm not receiving any information, period, back and forth.
Right.
That
Well,
makes it-
we have this limited time frame where we
Absolutely.
actually have to act on this in addition to the other things that we do. So
Right.
it's one of the things that we asked at the last meeting for y'all to consider is to go to the General Assembly and ask them to get the Secretary of State to do their work on the front end before we start the 10 days. It would be incredibly helpful to this process, both from your end and from our end, to know what we're working with as we get started. So after the meeting, if y'all want to
Okay.
talk, you can talk about that.
All right, and then I also submitted 7 people that were registered at my UPS store down the street. I never heard anything back. I've sent a couple emails. I haven't heard a word on those. Is that something anybody's looking at, or did that slip through the cracks?
I don't know.
It will also be addressed, because I don't have that information right down on my spreadsheet as of this time. But we'll go ahead and convene you later, and we'll talk about that, okay?
Okay,
All right, thank you.
all right,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Anything else? Any other?
Madam Chair, can I have a moment to talk to your staff before you adjourn?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we have a couple more things to do, unrelated to the challenges. You're welcome to stay, but we've got to redo the bond approval thing. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Ringer. So when we approved the TSPLOST, when I was reading the notes and indicated that there were two other City of Atlanta bonds that we needed to do those separately as opposed to of a piece. So we're going to go through some motions to get us to that point. I just wanted to let everybody who's watching, we're not going to take anything new other than that. So what I would like to do is have somebody make a motion to do the,
To amend the agenda and then,
to amend the agenda to indicate each of these two things. So if somebody wants to take a hack at it, and staff can correct us if we're not labeling this correctly.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add the bond election for public safety and parks and recreational facilities in the amount of $213,010,000.
So we'll just make a second on that one. We'll add that one to the agenda.
second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. That was added to our agenda. And then the next one.
And then add the notice of bond election to the qualified voters of Atlanta for roads, sidewalks, pathways, trails, related transportation, park and playground improvements in the amount of $192,990,000.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, these two are added to our agenda, and now we will move. Mr. Johnson, do you have anything? You're just ready to make the motions. Okay. Let us consider the public safety parks and rec GO bond for $213,010,000.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to accept.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye to adding those to our election ballot.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes.
Madam Chair, make a motion to accept the notice of bond election to the roads, sidewalks, pathways, trails, related transportation, park and playground improvements.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. The second GO bond for City of Atlanta has been accepted. Thank you very much. Any other business? Any other business?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion is to adjourn.
I second.
Properly moved and seconded. Without objection, the meeting's adjourned.
All right.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.